What up, Naughty Steppers? Connor Whitmore here again with another video for you on the Nawtystep channel, and it is time for another Extra Nawties monthly roundup. Gonna go over some EPs, albums, compilations that I wasn't able to review in full, but which I still thought interesting enough to share my opinions on them with you. Shorter reviews cause there's a lot to get through, so I'll just be identifying my main points with each one, and hopefully showing you something that you hadn't heard of before. Stuff released on the 28th of June and after will not be reviewed in this video, but the next one. There's actually a fair few releases from the end of May in this video, and the releases are covered in alphabetical order by way of artist name or record label name if it's a compilation, and they're all linked in the description box down below. Lastly, there'll be a list of special mentions at the end of the video that I couldn't talk about here because then there would just be too many, but I definitely recommend checking them out as well. And so kicking off this latest installment, we have the new EP from Axel Boy, Ill Routine. I love the energy to this bass house, bass line, at times even dubstep hybrid project, a load of underground, earthy, wub-filled bangers. The ideas are better on some tunes, and the execution at points is a little laboured, drops droning on and kind of overstaying their welcome. But it is a consistent EP, and if you like that style and approach generally, then you will love Ill Routine. Axel Boy is one of those musicians that I feel I'll always warm to because he's so diverse and adventurous, a very nice person as well, so yeah, definitely check it out. Then we have the new Chase and Status album, and honestly, on my first listen of it, considering what I know them for and kind of the extent to which I grew up on their music, I found it slightly disappointing, but the more I've listened to it, the more enjoyment I've got out of it. Some really good rhythms and grooves here. Nothing truly knockout, but it is quite simply a very nice listen and tribute to jungle music, which I suppose is the point. I mean, they've wowed with dubstep and drum and bass in the past, and this is more like a maturing of their sound. And by this point, with a legendary duo like Chase and Status, you gotta respect their direction and kinda trust they know what they're doing and where they're going. Really nice selection of D&B tunes here from Data 3, good range of moods and very sharp in its execution. I like how it never goes overboard in terms of the energy of it, it's very well contained. Points where it needs a little more flavour, and definitely has its fair share of superfluous sounds in there. But overall a really solid drum and bass project, one that for the most part I find hard to put down. Next up, we have the new EP from one of the most exciting producers in the heavy, glitchy realm of dark electronic music, and that's Ethan Glass. More of the same from him really, a load of intensely shiny, hard-hitting, psychedelic bangers, different moods in there. Needs more coherency on the ideas front for me to really get into it. Not an awful lot to hang on to, some of the execution is quite off, but that randomness may be his intention, some great sounds on display as well, so a fair amount to take from it overall. Little heads up, this one is only available on SoundCloud at the moment, not Spotify. Some really good drop material on this new EP from Figure. Across the board, it's got a lot going for it. In particular, the Proto-Hype collab, some mad stuff there. Appreciate the mid-tempo experiment with High on Ghost as well. But it would be a lot more powerful if the percussion was a lot snappier and cleaner on the whole. Would elevate it from being good to excellent, just needs sharpening all round to bring those ideas to life even more. The new album by Freddie Todd is for me a Wakan project summed up to an absolute T. Some really cool sounds and vibes, but the composition is just far too random and the execution is rough around the edges. There's too much going on and nothing to hang on to. Good sound design on a lot of it, but honestly, in terms of the ideas, I find it very hard to get through. Moving on to another roundtable project with this new High on Ghost EP, which honestly runs a lot like the Figure one. Some good ideas that again just need that wholesale refining to ensure they hit the exact right spot in their delivery. Mostly a percussion thing, but it's synths as well. A lot of them are distant and just don't pierce through in their respective songs. I enjoyed the introductions and vocal samples. As I said, some very solid drop ideas in there, just needs that sharpening and their stuff will be great. This debut LP from Wachi is alright, points where he gets the force of it spot on and others not so much. Which is what his style is all about really, so the fact that it only hits at certain moments means it's quite the mixed listening experience. Tracks like Demigod, Hollow, parts of Level I can really feel, and a couple of the softer experiments with his style on songs like Photograph I can also appreciate. But with the rest I feel like there's something more to be unleashed with his sound, relationship between elements not quite there, and stylistically quite formulaic, so overall not wowing me this album. Following that, this is pretty much everything you'd expect from a Midnight Tyrannosaurus EP at this point. Loud, scratchy dubstep music, eerie vibes, brilliant vocal samples, stodgy percussion, sounding like a broken record after my mutation review. I just don't feel this is anything new for him, not bringing anything fresh to the table, which me personally, I'm not that big on. Cause don't get me wrong, I like my dubstep evil, dark, and heavy as fuck, but sometimes the sound is just too much, and that's always been the case with him for me. Next up, it's part 2 of a new series from Neosignal, this one featuring a load of remixes from some of the very best in D&B at the moment. And I can't lie, there's something I love about all 5 songs here: the colour and purpose of the Mephius edit, the grungy force and drive of the Culprit one, the deep, guttural delivery of Bunshin, the subsuming neuro soundscape of Joe Ford, the wavy, drawn-out dreaminess from Eunice, each one showing you exactly what drum and bass is good for, very clean production, to-the-point ideas. Definite recommend right here. Actually, the whole series so far. Not gonna lie, a little disappointed by the new Night Bass and UKF EP. Some really good artists here, but none of the tunes really grab me. All of them have good aspects, whether it's the vibe or certain sounds used, but also enough to ensure they're not fully engaging from beginning to end. The Shift Key song is probably my favourite of the 4. In the others, the drawbacks overwhelm the good stuff that's available, in my opinion. The latest EP from Oliverse is another where it's more of the same for the most part, very powerful, vibrant, oozy dubstep music. I wouldn't say the ideas here are quite as on point as past stuff from him. Unlike past EPs, it's without that truly standout track to carry the project overall. A large number of the drops seem more like an inclusion of sounds where he can, as opposed to them having a genuine direction and purpose to them. But at the end of the day, I still enjoy it a lot because it's Oliverse. Similar styles out there, but no one matches it with that energy and old school vibe, has to be said. Now, I have to admit, I've become a little disenfranchised with the Barong Family label recently, but this Psycho Boys Club EP has definitely sparked my interest. A new collab project between Julian Sebulba and Stoltenhoff, and it's the exact kind of energy and jungly vibe I associate with and love about Barong. For the most part, just a very lively, excitable EP that doesn't have incredible ideas, particularly in the second half, I'd have to say. But as a concept, it's very infectious, mixing elements of hardstyle, speedy house, trap, a weird and wild listen. Definitely check it out. Moving on from there, we have the new EP from one of the most exciting producers in drum and bass right now, and that's QZB, who in my opinion came through with one of the best D&B projects of last year, and whose intricate, detailed sound I've been pretty hooked on since. Delirium is a little bit more on the earthy, deep side I'd say, percussion less the focal point, more honing in on the encompassing feel of it, which I'm welcoming with open arms. The title track in particular is a beautiful slowing down of his style, so overall, once again, very good from QZB. Here we have another EP from Sam Lamar, where some of the sounds and moments of contrast are great, nice atmosphere and theme running through it, introductions are good, but there's also more than enough to take away from all that good, mostly the drops where almost all of the percussion is very muddy, and the idea's a bit tepid. A lot of potential with him, so much about his style that already works well, but still quite a way to go to get him to the point where his music is great, as opposed to alright. Another label that I haven't been overly keen on recently is Rushdown. However, I have to say, I am seriously impressed by this new Sharks EP. Lots of colour and feeling to these songs, well put together, really good range of sounds on offer, just got loads going for it quite frankly. Also a wealth of emotions and moods on offer, different types of energy and structure, all through this completely electrifying, off-the-wall melodic dubstep medium. And I want to pick out particular tunes, but honestly I don't think that would be fair on the others. They've all got their great moments, the kaleidoscopic outro included, a must-listen for all fans of dubstep. Penultimately, I was really afraid I wasn't going to enjoy this remix EP, especially considering how highly I rate the original one, but there's a lot of good stuff here. Company's remix shows us what's best about his style, and is potentially his best yet. The Ricky Sand one completely flips kaiju on its head in a creative, well-cut way. Sudden Deaths is probably the most fearsome I've heard him since Castles. Fizo's is just huge and pretty mind-melting in its sound design. And Gamma brings that large festival energy on his edit, so yeah, whilst none of them are perfect, their good bits are pretty fucking brilliant. So this remix EP, I think it delivered. And finally we have the newest collection from Zabor, and whilst he's someone whose output I've enjoyed a lot over the last couple of years, I'm not sure this one gets me quite as much. The colour of his sound design is still there, it's well assembled, the ideas are nifty and cheeky, but the definition of the overall sound isn't anywhere near as clean as usual. That is apart from track 2, Go Stupid, which is absolutely sensational, really sharp, refined sounds, so much going on, and you can hear it all so clearly. Hits so hard. But yeah, generally I think his production seems more muffled and swampy, and his ideas don't come across as well as a result. A shame, but I still see him as one of the best in Riddim, 100%. And so that brings the June 2019 edition of the Extra Nawties monthly roundup to a close. The special mentions are Anna Luno, Artix, The Boathouse and Gold Digger, Corrupt, Dirty Snatcher, Dither, Clark and Roxas, Most Addicted, Sonar, Viperactive and Yellow Claw. I'll link all of those in the description box down below. But with regards to the EPs, albums and compilations reviewed in this video, which ones did you enjoy, which others not so much, are there any that I missed out? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this roundup video, then be sure to give it a big old thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell along the way, social media accounts in the description box down below. Next to my head there'll be a link to another Extra Nawties roundup video if you're looking for some more dark electronic music to explore. And lastly, if it's naughty, then you know guys, so be sure as always to keep it naughty and stay safe. And I shall see all of you legends in the next one. Peace out.